Listen up. Do you want gear that works as hard as you do? Then I'm going to introduce you to Barbell Apparel. These guys at Barbell, they're not just making clothes, they're making a statement. How about to start with a lifetime guarantee? And yes, you heard me right. This is not just some flimsy promise. This is a commitment. Barbell's gear is built to move, it's built to last, and it's built for you. If something goes wrong, let's say your squat PR is too much for that seam, Barbell has got you covered. Repairs, replacements, no problem. Barbell will take care of it, no excuses. And here's the thing, bodies change. Maybe you're packing on muscle. Maybe you're leaning out. Whatever your journey, Barbell Apparel says, we got your back. If you need a new size, you will get a hassle-free exchange. No questions, no judgment. This is not just clothing. This is your partner in the grind. Their mission is simple. They want to fuel your fitness, help you break your own limits, and look cool while you're doing it. Barbell is built for the everyday athlete and backed for life. So if you're ready to gear up like a champion, go to Barbell Apparel or just click on the link below. Holloway wants Oliveira matchup. Okay. Now, this is a headline from Jesse Holland over at Mania.com. My mortal nemesis, Jesse Holland. All right, hold on though. Let's hold this thought. Now, I want to disclose to you, I haven't clicked on this. I haven't opened it and clicked on it. I'm just reading the headline, but I have a thought on that headline. So, Holloway wants Oliveira rematch. Those guys fought. That would be a rematch. That's of interest to me. And I kind of remember that. But as I'm trying to connect the dots, that would have been at 145 pounds, correct? And if there was to be a rematch, Max, I would think, would have won that fight. I would think that Max would have won that fight. Now, I don't need you to correct me right now. I'll click on the article and but I'm just telling you off the top of my head, like, I love that fight. Max and Oliveira, they got him right here, faced off with Shelby in between. Like, that's made for a poster. That's good stuff right there. Now, if they did fight, and I am right, that Max won, it is uncommon that Max would call for a rematch, but it would be even more difficult for Oliveira to turn it down. Now, please don't correct me on that. I realize the facts of the case and Chael's, Jeopardy MMA. I could push one button and find it. I don't want to find it right now. I want to give you my response as a colloquial. Now, they'll call it the little old lady in Iowa. That's an actual term. That's an actual term that they'll use in marketing, in television. Sure, the hardcores want it. Sure, the average fan wants it. What about that little old lady in Iowa? It's expression. She comes across the channel. Will she stop? Moreover, from this call out tells us the sincerity that Max is staying at 155. I don't love the idea of Oliveira for a title shot. Now, hear me out. My days of putting down Charles are behind us. I'm up to speed on what you guys see. He's awesome. I get it. I don't love the idea against him in Islam. Charles does not want to fight Islam. That's not a sin. Sometimes there's just matchups or guys. Maybe they got a personal relationship we don't know about. I don't believe that they do. I think that it's just purely. But Charles does not want to fight Islam. They have tried to act like Charles has this opportunity as a way of forcing him into it, and he ultimately showed them who has the real choice and didn't show up for the fight. And that's just what happened. That's the truth. So the idea of booking Charles and Islam is a little bit complicated. In first regard, you better not make that your main event. Are you going to be able to get that fight to the cage? It's an interesting spot. The idea of Charles versus Islam, from Islam's perspective, he was getting ready to fight Sarukian a second time. He did fight Volkanovski a second time. So the idea of him going in there and fighting Charles, even if you tell me, Chael, you're completely wrong, and maybe Charles didn't used to want it, but he wants it now, okay, fair enough, but are we ever going to ask Islam what he wants? Does that ever become relevant? Hey, Islam, what do you want to do? Does that ever matter? And the idea of Islam against Max is very compelling, regardless of Topuria. Like, common opponent is a fascinating thing. Ilia Topuria is calling out Islam. Ilia Topuria is the only one calling out Islam. Ilia Topuria, of anybody that could call out Islam, is the most likely to ever be in there, at least next, against Islam. It's a pretty safe call out. But wouldn't that be a fascinating match? If we are building towards Islam and Ilia, if we are doing that, Max Holloway is a very intriguing factor to that, regardless of how that outcome went, or regardless of what Max wants to do up at 155 pounds. Like Max has been very aware of his own surroundings. He is not called for an Islam fight. He believes there's something he has to do in between. I don't disagree with him. But on the topic of how this headline caught me, is what happened to Dustin. Dustin is one of the biggest stars at 55, and possibly the biggest star at 55. Dustin Poirier is a top 4 star in the entire company. So what he's going to do next greatly matters. And I thought he even had inside scoop. I thought I had inside scoop. It was going to be Dustin versus Max for the belt. I mean, how are you going to get Dustin in there with Max to do it a third time, particularly when the next one could be Dustin's last one? Each fight, this could be his last one. You got to spruce it. You got to make it kind of cool. You got to step a cage in Lafayette. You got to do something that he can get for it. I don't think Dustin's on a trajectory, even with a win over Max, to go in and fight for a title, because Dustin's talking about it's going to be his last one, and he already fought Islam. So now if you put Islam and, or rather you put Max and you put Dustin together, you're not having a true number 1 contenders match. It could become a number 1 contenders match only after the fact and only in the event that Max wins, but you could have a BMF title fight, and I thought that we did. So if Max is in fact calling out Oliveira, why? And as much scoop as I might think I have, or you guys on the underground forum, or maybe you got a friend that knows somebody on the inside, I got it, but we're never going to have more information than the fighters themselves. So if Max is now calling out Charles, can I rightfully conclude that Max and Poirier is off? Can I? And that would be disappointing if it was off, but now it would give us Dustin, one of our biggest stars, and we get to start having the fun of matching him up with somebody else. Which, by the way, Paddy the Baddy versus Dustin Poirier is one of the better ideas I've heard today. But is that what it means? Max calls out Oliveira. I imagine Max is trying to take Oliveira's number 1 spot away. But if Oliveira is to fight somebody from the field, that means he's not going to be fighting against Islam. And if Oliveira's not fighting Islam and Sarukian is not fighting Islam, who is? And moreover, in this situation, at least for me, the fan, is what is going on with Dustin Poirier.